I was halfway across my father's living room when my sister ripped the crutch from my hand. The room went silent for half a second before Brooke's voice cut through the air like a blade. "Stop faking it. You're just leeching off Dad's sympathy like always." My knee buckled. I hit the hardwood floor so hard my teeth rattled. Laughter erupted around me. Aunt Linda, Cousin Greg. Even my father looked more embarrassed than concerned. I lay there, humiliated, pain shooting through my surgically reconstructed leg. Then I heard a voice I recognized. Cool, calm, professional. Dr. Nathan Pierce stepped forward from behind my sister. The pain in my knee was nothing compared to the familiar ache in my chest. This was how it had always been. Me on the ground, Brooke standing tall, everyone else looking away. I'm Andra, 32 years old, and I've spent most of my life being the invisible sister. Growing up in Hartford, Connecticut, Brooke was the one who mattered. Homecoming queen, captain of the debate team, full ride to Yale. She married Trevor Walsh right after graduation, a hedge fund manager whose family summered in the Hamptons. They had 2 perfect children, Madison and Harper, who wore matching outfits and never spilled juice on the carpet. I went to Central Connecticut State University. I became a middle school art teacher. I married Jason, a kind man who worked in IT. We divorced 3 years ago for reasons I'm still unpacking in therapy. I live alone in a 4th-floor walk-up in New Haven, or at least I did until 6 weeks ago when everything changed. I was playing recreational soccer on a Sunday morning, something I did to stay active and meet people outside of school. A player from the other team collided with me. I heard the pop before I felt the pain. Torn ACL, torn meniscus. I needed reconstructive surgery, and Dr. Nathan Pierce was the orthopedic surgeon who took my case. What should have been a routine procedure turned into something else entirely. During surgery, one of the instruments nicked my popliteal artery. I found out later that Dr. Pierce had to call in a vascular surgeon mid-operation. I could have lost my leg. I could have died. Instead, I woke up with a longer incision than expected, more pain than anticipated, and strict orders to stay off my leg for at least 3 months. My apartment wasn't an option. 4 flights of stairs, no elevator. My father offered his house. I accepted, grateful but wary. Living with Dad meant living with his expectations, his disappointments, his constant comparisons to Brooke. It meant Sunday dinners where Brooke held court, talking about Madison's violin recitals and Harper's acceptance into a prestigious preschool. It meant watching my father's face light up when Brooke walked in and dim when he looked at me. Today was his 60th birthday. The house was packed with relatives I saw once or twice a year. People who knew me as the other daughter, the one who wasn't Brooke. I had dressed carefully. A simple blue sweater and black pants, my hair pulled back in a ponytail. I looked tired because I was tired. Physical therapy was brutal. The pain medication made me nauseous. I wasn't sleeping well. Brooke arrived like a storm. She wore a cream cashmere dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Her hair was professionally styled. Trevor followed with the girls, who ran to their grandfather shouting, "Grandpa! Grandpa!" Brooke kissed Dad on the cheek and handed him an expensive bottle of scotch. Then she saw me sitting on the couch, my crutch leaning against the armrest, and her smile tightened. "Still milking that injury, I see," she said quietly enough that only I could hear. I didn't respond. I had learned years ago that engaging with Brooke only gave her ammunition. I stayed on the couch while people mingled, sipping ginger ale because I couldn't mix alcohol with my pain medication. Dad was in the kitchen with Aunt Linda and Uncle Paul. Brooke was showing photos on her phone to a cluster of cousins. Trevor was chasing Madison and Harper around the coffee table. When Dad called everyone to the dining room for cake, I stood slowly, reaching for my crutch. That's when Brooke moved. She crossed the room faster than I expected, grabbed the crutch from my hand, and yanked it away. I tried to catch myself, but my leg couldn't hold my weight. I went down hard. The laughter was instant. Nervous at first, then genuine, when people thought it was some kind of joke. Brooke stood over me, holding my crutch like a trophy. "Stop faking it," she said louder this time. "You're just leeching off Dad's sympathy like always." She turned to Dad. "Seriously, how long is she going to play the victim? She's been living here rent-free for 6 weeks. She barely helps around the house. She just sits there like an invalid." I was trying to push myself up when I heard Dr. Pierce's voice. "Excuse me." The room went quiet. He stepped forward from where He'd been standing near the hallway. I had forgotten Dad invited him. They met at a charity golf tournament last year and stayed in touch. Dr. Pierce was tall, probably in his late 40s, with graying hair and the kind of calm authority that made people listen. "I'm Dr. Nathan Pierce," he said, looking around the room. "Andra's orthopedic surgeon." He moved toward me, offering his hand. I took it, and he helped me stand, supporting my weight until I could balance on my good leg. Then he turned to face everyone. "I need to clarify something," he said. His voice was steady but cold. Andra's surgery was not routine. During the procedure, we had a complication. A surgical instrument nicked her popliteal artery. That's a major blood vessel behind the knee. We had to call in a vascular surgeon immediately. Andra could have lost her leg. She could have died on my table. The room was completely silent now. Brooke's face had gone pale. She's been in constant pain since the surgery. Dr. Pierce continued. "The recovery is going to take at least 6 months, possibly longer. That crutch isn't optional. It's medically necessary. She can't put full weight on that leg yet. If she does, she risks tearing the repair work we did." He turned to look at Brooke. "Your sister is one of the bravest patients I've ever treated. She never complains. She does her physical therapy even though it's agonizing. She pushes herself every single day." His voice dropped. "And you just assaulted her." Nobody laughed now. Aunt Linda looked horrified. Uncle Paul was staring at his shoes. Dad stood frozen in the doorway to the kitchen, his face unreadable. Brooke's mouth opened and closed, but no sound came out. For about 10 seconds, I thought maybe this was it. Maybe Brooke would apologize. Maybe someone would finally hold her accountable. But I should have known better. Brooke doesn't apologize. She attacks. "That's dramatic," she said, recovering her composure. "Doctors always exaggerate. They cover themselves legally by making everything sound worse than it is." She looked at Dr. Pierce with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "No offense, doctor, but I know my sister. She's always been fragile, always needed special treatment." Dr. Pierce's expression didn't change. "I don't exaggerate medical facts. I'm giving you information about a serious surgical complication. What you choose to do with that information says more about you than it does about me." Brooke flushed. "I'm just saying that Andra has a pattern. She's been living here rent-free for 6 weeks. Has she offered to pay Dad anything? Has she been cooking? Cleaning? Or is she just lying on the couch feeling sorry for herself?" She turned to Dad. "I've been worried about you. You're 60 years old. You shouldn't have to take care of a grown woman who can't take care of herself." I felt the words like physical blows. This was classic Brooke. When cornered, she shifted the narrative. Suddenly, I wasn't the victim of her cruelty. I was the burden, the problem, the one who needed to be managed. Dad looked uncomfortable. He cleared his throat. "Well, Brooke, I don't think that's entirely fair. Isn't it?" Brooke pressed. "Be honest, Dad. Hasn't this been hard on you?" Aunt Linda chimed in before Dad could answer. "Well, Brooke does have a point. At your age, Andra, shouldn't you be more independent? You're 32. You're divorced. You're living with your father. I mean, when are you going to get your life together?" The words hung in the air. Other relatives murmured agreement. Cousin Greg nodded. Uncle Paul looked at me with pity, which somehow felt worse than judgment. I wanted to disappear. I wanted to explain that I didn't choose this, that I was doing the best I could, that I paid Dad $500 a month even though he insisted I didn't need to, that I cooked dinner 3 nights a week despite the pain, that I was drowning and nobody noticed because they were too busy watching Brooke shine. Dr. Pierce looked disgusted. He caught my eye and said quietly, "I'll wait outside." Then he walked out, leaving me alone with my family. The silence stretched. Brooke looked satisfied. She had successfully redirected the narrative. I was the problem again. Then Trevor spoke. "Brooke, that's enough." Everyone turned. Trevor stood near the fireplace, his hands in his pockets, his face unreadable. Brooke's smile faltered. "Trevor, not now. No, right now," he said. His voice was calm but firm. "I've watched you tear down your sister for 2 decades, and I've said nothing. I'm done being silent." Brooke's face went bright red. "Trevor, we can talk about this at home." "I don't think we can," Trevor said. He looked around the room. I think everyone here needs to hear this. Brooke has been systematically cruel to Andra for years. She mocks her. She diminishes her. She turns every family gathering into an opportunity to make Andra feel small, and I've enabled it by staying quiet. He paused. Maybe we should tell everyone the real reason you're so angry at Andra. Brooke's face drained of all color. Don't you dare. Why not? Trevor asked. They should know. Trevor, I swear to God, Brooke hissed. But Trevor wasn't backing down. He looked at me. Andra, 5 years ago. Do you remember Sarah and Michael's wedding? I nodded slowly. My cousin Sarah married her college boyfriend in a big ceremony in Rhode Island. Jason and I attended. Brooke and Trevor were there with baby Madison. It was a beautiful wedding. I remembered dancing with Jason. I remembered feeling happy. What you don't know. Trevor said, Is that Jason got drunk at the reception? He cornered Brooke near the coat check and made a pass at her. The room gasped. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. Brooke rejected him. Trevor continued. She told him to go back to his wife. But instead of telling you, she told your father. And your father advised her to keep it quiet, to avoid drama, to protect the family peace. Trevor's voice was bitter now, so Brooke kept quiet. But the secret ate at her. She started to resent you. She blamed you for having a husband who would betray you, as if it were your fault. When you and Jason divorced 3 years ago, Brooke felt vindicated, like she'd been right about you all along, and she's been punishing you ever since. I couldn't breathe. I looked at Dad. You knew? Jason hit on Brooke, and you knew. Dad's face was gray. Andra, it wasn't like that. I thought it was better if you didn't know. It would have hurt you. So you let me stay married to him without knowing what kind of person he was. My voice was shaking. You let me think everything was fine. He was drunk, Dad said weakly. It was a mistake. It was a betrayal, I said. Then I turned to Brooke. Did you tell him? Did you tell Jason that I knew? Brooke's silence was damning. You did, I whispered. The pieces were falling into place. You told Jason that I knew about what he did. You made him think I was keeping a secret from him, that I was judging him. That's why he started pulling away. That's why he stopped talking to me. You poisoned my marriage. Maybe if you weren't so pathetic, he wouldn't have looked elsewhere in the first place. Brooke snapped. The room erupted. Aunt Linda gasped. Uncle Paul said, Brooke, that's out of line. Even Dad said, that's enough. But I was already moving. I reached for my crutch, which Brooke had dropped on the floor. Every movement hurt. My knee throbbed, but I pulled myself up and stood there, facing my sister. You ruined my life, and you've been blaming me for it ever since. I stood there, leaning heavily on my crutch, staring at my sister. Brooke's face was a mask of fury and something else. Shame, maybe. Or fear. The family stood frozen, everyone looking between us like spectators at a car crash. Madison started crying in the corner. Harper clung to Trevor's leg, her small face confused and frightened. Tell me the truth, I said to Brooke. My voice was steadier than I expected. Tell me exactly what you did. Brooke crossed her arms. I don't owe you anything. You owe me the truth, I said. Did you tell Jason I knew about the wedding? Did you lie to him? I told him you were too smart not to notice, Brooke said defensively. I told him you probably knew and were just waiting for the right moment to throw it in his face. I was trying to help him see what kind of person you are. Someone who holds grudges. Someone who punishes people. I didn't know, I said. Each word felt like lifting a weight. I had no idea, and you let him believe I was keeping secrets. You let him think I was judging him. You created a problem that didn't exist. Maybe it needed to exist. Brooke shot back. Maybe your marriage was already broken and I just exposed the cracks. My marriage was fine until you interfered, I said. I could feel tears hot on my cheeks, but I didn't wipe them away. Jason and I had problems, like everyone does. But we were working on them. We were going to counseling. We were trying. And then he started acting different. Distant. Cold. He stopped touching me. He stopped talking to me. He said he felt like I was always judging him, always waiting for him to mess up. I had no idea what he was talking about. I thought I was losing my mind. Dad stepped forward. Andra, I didn't know Brooke told him that. I swear I didn't know. But you knew about the wedding, I said, turning to him. You knew my husband hit on your other daughter and you said nothing. You protected Brooke. You always protect Brooke. I was trying to protect you, Dad said. His voice cracked. I thought if you didn't know, you wouldn't be hurt. I was hurt anyway, I said. Jason had an affair 2 years after the wedding. He slept with someone from his office. When I found out, he said he felt like our marriage was already over. He said it'd been pulling away for months. But I hadn't. He had. Because Brooke planted poison in his head and you let her. Aunt Linda spoke up. Richard, is this true? You knew about this. Dad nodded slowly. I thought I was doing the right thing. The right thing would have been telling me, I said. I looked around the room. All these people who were supposed to love me, support me, protect me. The right thing would have been letting me make my own choices with all the information. Instead, you and Brooke decided you knew better. You decided I couldn't handle the truth. And my marriage fell apart because of your lies. Trevor cleared his throat. There's more. Everyone turned to him. He looked at Brooke. Tell her the rest. Trevor, stop, Brooke said. Her voice was desperate now. She deserves to know, Trevor said. He looked at me. After your divorce, Brooke stayed in touch with Jason. She called him a few times. Met him for coffee once. My stomach dropped. What? I found the messages, Trevor said quietly. Nothing physical happened. But she was feeding him information about you, telling him you were struggling, that you were falling apart, that you couldn't handle being alone. I think she wanted him to feel like Head made the right choice leaving you. Why? The word came out as a whisper. Why would you do that? Brooke's face crumpled. For the first time, she looked genuinely shaken. Because I needed you to fail. I needed you to be the broken one. Because if you were fine, if you were happy, then what did that make me? The room went silent. Madison was still crying. Harper was sucking her thumb. Something Trevor said she'd stopped doing months ago. Dad looked like Head aged 10 years in 10 minutes. Aunt Linda had her hand over her mouth. You have everything, I said to Brooke. You have the perfect life, the perfect family, the perfect career. Why wasn't that enough? Why did you need to destroy me too? Because it's not real, Brooke said. Her voice broke. None of it is real. My marriage is a performance. My kids are exhausted from trying to be perfect. My job is soul-crushing, immiserable. And you were happy. You were teaching kids and making art and living in your tiny apartment, and you were happy. And I couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand that you were happy with so little when I was miserable with everything. The confession hung in the air. This was the truth Id suspected but never wanted to believe. My sister didn't hate me because Id done something wrong. She hated me because I represented something she couldn't have. Freedom, authenticity, peace. So you tried to take it away from me, I said. Yes, Brooke whispered. I did, and am not sorry. That last part broke something in me. Not because it hurt, but because it clarified everything. Brooke wasn't going to change. She wasn't going to apologize. She wasn't going to see me as a person worthy of love and respect. And I was done waiting for her to. I asked Cousin Greg to hand me my crutch. He picked it up from where Brooke had dropped it and brought it to me, his eyes full of pity. I didn't want pity. I wanted something else. Something I'd never demanded before. Respect. I steadied myself and looked around the room. At all these people who'd watched me be diminished for years and said nothing. At Dad, who loved me but not enough to defend me. At Aunt Linda, who'd just moments ago suggested I needed to get my life together. At Brooke, who stood there defiant even now. I need to tell you all something, I said. My voice was quiet, but everyone stopped moving to listen. For my entire life, I've made myself small. I've stayed quiet. I've accepted being compared to Brooke and coming up short. I've let Dad's disappointment shape how I see myself. I've convinced myself that maybe I was the problem. Maybe I was too sensitive, too needy, too ordinary. I paused, gathering strength. 6 weeks ago, I tore my knee playing soccer. The surgery should have been routine. But something went wrong. Dr. Pierce saved my leg. Maybe he saved my life. And lying in that hospital bed, pumped full of painkillers, I had this moment of clarity. Physical pain has a way of cutting through everything else. It's honest. It doesn't lie. And I realized that I've been living with a different kind of pain my whole life. Emotional pain. The pain of being unseen, unvalued, unloved in the way I needed to be loved. Dad made a sound like he'd been hit. Andra, that's not true. I love you. You love the idea of me, I said gently. The version of me that doesn't need anything from you. The version that's fine being second place. But you don't love the real me. Because you don't know the real me. You've never asked. I turned to the room. I've been documenting everything for the past 6 weeks. Every cruel comment, every dismissive gesture, every time someone in this family made me feel like I was a burden. I've been keeping a journal on my phone. My therapist suggested it. She specializes in family trauma. She's been helping me see that what I've experienced isn't normal. It's not love. It's abuse. Emotional abuse. And I'm done accepting it. Aunt Linda looked shocked. Andra, that's a strong word. It's the right word, I said. Brooke has been emotionally abusing me for years. Dad enabled it. You all witnessed it and said nothing. That makes you complicit. Uncle Paul shifted uncomfortably. We didn't know it was that bad. You didn't ask, I said. Nobody asked if I was okay. Nobody checked in. You all just accepted that Brooke was the star and I was the background. And I let you. That's my fault. I should have stood up for myself years ago, but I'm standing up now. I looked at Dad. I'm moving out tomorrow. I'm cutting contact with anyone who can't treat me with basic respect. That includes you unless you're willing to change. Andra, don't be ridiculous, Dad said. His voice had that edge it got when he was uncomfortable. We're family. You can't just leave. Family doesn't treat each other like this, I said. You taught Brooke that cruelty was acceptable because you never stopped it. You taught me that I was less valuable because you never defended me. I'm choosing myself now. For the first time in my life, I'm choosing me. I started toward the door, my crutch tapping against the hardwood floor. Each step hurt, but I kept moving. Behind me, I heard Brooke's voice, desperate and angry. Where are you going to go? You can't even walk. You can't take care of yourself. I stopped and turned back. I'm more capable than you've ever given me credit for. And I'd rather struggle alone than be diminished in company. I looked at her. Really looked at her. I forgive you, Brooke. Not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace. But forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. It means I'm letting go of the hope that you'll ever be the sister I needed. That's your loss, not mine. I turned back toward the door. Dr. Pierce was standing in the entryway. He must have come back in when he heard the commotion. Ready to go? He asked quietly. Yes, I said. I'm ready, Doctor. Pierce helped me to his car, a sensible sedan parked in Dad's driveway. I collapsed into the passenger seat, my whole body shaking. Not from pain, though my knee was throbbing. From adrenaline, from relief, from terror at what I'd just done. Where do you want me to take you? Dr. Pierce asked as he started the engine. I don't know, I admitted. My apartment isn't accessible. I can't stay with Dad. I don't have anywhere to go. Actually, Dr. Pierce said. I made some calls while I was outside. There's a medical recovery facility about 20 minutes from here. They specialize in post-surgical rehabilitation. It's fully covered by your insurance, and they have availability. You can stay there for up to 8 weeks. I stared at him. You did that for me. You're my patient, he said simply. Part of my job is making sure you have what you need to heal. That includes a safe place to recover. He glanced at me. My wife, Caroline, runs a nonprofit that helps patients transition back to independent living. They have a temporary housing program, accessible apartments, month-to-month leases. If you're interested, I can have her reach out to you. Tears spilled down my cheeks. Why are you helping me? You barely know me. I know enough, Dr. Pierce said. I know you show up to every physical therapy appointment, even when you're in pain. I know you ask questions and follow instructions. I know you're trying. That's more than a lot of people do. He paused. And I know what it's like to have a family that doesn't see your worth. My parents disowned me when I married Caroline. She's Black. They couldn't handle it. So we built our own family. People who chose us. People who valued us. It's possible, Andra. It's hard, but it's possible, I cried quietly as he drove. The facility was nice, clean, quiet. A nurse named Patricia checked me in and showed me to a private room with a window overlooking a small garden. There was a hospital bed, a recliner, a small bathroom with grab bars, and a walk-in shower. It felt like a luxury hotel compared to Dad's couch. Physical therapy is down the hall, Patricia said. Meals are served in the dining room or can be delivered to your room. There's a social worker on staff if you need to talk. You're safe here. Safe. The word felt foreign, but true. I was settling into the recliner when there was a knock on my door. Trevor stood in the doorway, looking exhausted. Can I come in? I nodded. He entered and closed the door behind him. I'm sorry, he said immediately. I'm sorry. I didn't speak up sooner. I'm sorry I let Brooke hurt you for so long. There's no excuse. Why did you stay silent? I asked. Fear, Trevor said. He sat in the chair beside my bed. Brooke can be scary when she's angry. I convinced myself that staying quiet was keeping the peace, but it wasn't peace. It was cowardice. He pulled an envelope from his jacket pocket and handed it to me. This is from my personal account, not joint funds. $10,000. It's not charity. It's restitution for the harm my silence enabled. I opened the envelope. Inside was a check made out to me for exactly $10,000. Trevor, I can't accept this. You can, he said firmly. Use it for the apartment deposit. Use it for therapy. Use it for whatever you need. Please. Let me do this one thing right. I looked at him, really looked at him. He had bags under his eyes, his shoulders slumped. Are you okay? No, he said honestly. Am not. I'm realizing I've been married to someone I don't know. Or maybe I've always known and I didn't want to see it. Madison and Harper were crying the whole drive home. They're scared. They don't understand why Mommy was so mean to Aunt Andra. He rubbed his face. I think we need to separate. At least for a while. I need to figure out who I am outside of Brooke's orbit. I'm sorry, I said. Don't be, Trevor said. This has been a long time coming. Today just made it impossible to ignore. He stood. I should go. But I wanted you to know that I'm on your side. If you need anything, call me. I mean it. After Trevor left, I sat in the quiet room and looked at the check. $10,000. Enough to start over. Enough to be independent. Enough to choose myself. There was another knock. I expected a nurse, but it was Dad. He stood in the doorway looking small and old. Can I come in? I wanted to say no. I wanted to tell him to leave, but I nodded. He entered and stood awkwardly by the door, his hands in his pockets. I failed you, he said. His voice was thick. I failed you your whole life, and I'm just now seeing it. Why? I asked. Why did you always choose Brooke? Dad's face crumpled. He sank into the chair Trevor had vacated. Because she needed me more, or at least I thought she did. Brooke was always so demanding, so needy. She required constant attention, constant praise. You were easy. You didn't ask for anything. You just existed quietly. And I took that for granted. I thought you were fine because you never complained. I didn't realize I was teaching you that your needs didn't matter. He was crying now. Full, ugly sobs. My father was like that with me. He loved my brother more. My brother was charismatic and charming. I was serious and quiet. I spent my whole life trying to earn my father's approval, and I never got it. He died without ever telling me he was proud of me. And I did the same thing to you. I gave all my attention to the child who demanded it and neglected the one who deserved it. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to comfort him. Part of me wanted to stay angry. Both felt true. I don't expect you to forgive me, Dad said, but I need you to know I see what I did. I'm horrified by it. And if you'll let me, I want to try to be better. I want to be the father you deserved. I can't trust that yet, I said honestly. You've said things before, made promises before, and then nothing changed. I know, Dad said. So I'm going to show you. I'm going into therapy. I found someone who specializes in family systems, and I'm setting boundaries with Brooke. She's not welcome in my house until she gets help too. Madison and Harper can visit, but not Brooke. Not until she acknowledges what she's done and commits to changing. Why now? I asked. Why is it different this time? Because I saw you walk away, Dad said. I saw you choose yourself, and I realized I was about to lose you forever. That scared me more than anything ever has. He wiped his eyes. I don't deserve another chance. But I'm asking for one anyway. I looked at my father, really looked at him. He was 60 years old. He had regrets. He had trauma of his own. He was flawed and human and imperfect, just like me. If you want a relationship with me in the future, you'll have to earn it. That starts with holding Brooke accountable. Not just to me, to yourself. You have to admit that you enabled her, that you hurt me, and you have to change. I will, Dad said. I promise. I didn't respond. Promises were words. I needed action. Dad seemed to understand. He stood. I'll go. But I'll call tomorrow to check on you. If that's okay. Okay, I said. After he left, I lay in the hospital bed and looked out at the garden. It was autumn. The trees were turning golden red. Everything was changing, including me. 3 months passed like water through my hands. Days blended together in the recovery facility. Physical therapy every morning. Meals in the dining room where I met other patients recovering from surgeries and accidents. Therapy sessions with the social worker, a woman named Dr. Helen Martinez who didn't let me hide from hard truths. Slowly, painfully, I got stronger. By week 6, I was walking without the crutch. Just a slight limp that Dr. Pierce said would fade with time. By week 8, I moved into one of the accessible apartments Caroline's nonprofit managed. It was small, a studio in downtown New Haven, with wide doorways and grab bars in the bathroom. But it was mine. I paid the deposit with part of Trevor's check and saved the rest. I returned to teaching in early November. My students threw me a welcome back party. They'd made a banner that said, "We missed you, Miss Andra," with drawings of paintbrushes and palettes. 13-year-olds who barely looked up from their phones had noticed my absence, had cared enough to celebrate my return. I cried in the supply closet during lunch. Dad called every week. True to his word, he was in therapy. He sent me articles he was reading about family dynamics and emotional neglect. He asked questions instead of giving advice. He listened instead of defending himself. It was strange and uncomfortable and tentatively hopeful. Trevor texted occasionally with updates. He and Brooke had separated. He had primary custody of Madison and Harper. Brooke was living in a condo downtown and seeing the girls on weekends. He said she was in therapy too, though he didn't know if it was helping. I joined a support group for people healing from family estrangement. 8 of us met every Thursday evening in a church basement. We shared stories. We cried. We laughed. We reminded each other that choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's survival. I started painting again. Not for anyone else. Just for me. Abstract pieces full of color and emotion. I hung them on my apartment walls. Caroline came over for dinner one night, saw them, and asked if she could show them to a friend who owned a gallery. I said yes before I could talk myself out of it. I went on a date with Ethan, a history teacher at my school. He had kind eyes and an easy laugh. He didn't ask about my limp. He asked about my favorite artists and what I liked to cook and whether I'd seen the new exhibit at the Yale Art Gallery. On the 3rd date, he kissed me goodnight on my doorstep and said, "I really like spending time with you." I believed him. Life was becoming something I recognized, something that felt like mine. And then the letter arrived. It came on a Tuesday in late November, a thick envelope with a law firm's return address. Inside was a legal notice. Brooke was suing me for defamation of character. She claimed my accusations at Dad's birthday party had damaged her reputation, that relatives were treating her differently, that she'd lost friendships because of what I'd said. She was demanding $50,000 in damages. I sat on my apartment floor and read the letter 3 times. Then I called Dr. Martinez. She talked me through the panic, reminded me to breathe, gave me the name of a lawyer. A woman named Patricia Chen, who specialized in family law and defamation cases. Patricia's office was in a renovated brownstone near the courthouse. She was maybe 50, with silver streaks in her black hair and reading glasses on a chain around her neck. She read through the legal notice while I sat across from her desk, my hands shaking. "This is garbage," Patricia said finally. "Absolute garbage. But it's also an opportunity." "How is being sued an opportunity?" I asked. "Because your sister just opened herself up to discovery," Patricia said. She leaned back in her chair. "In defamation cases, truth is an absolute defense. If what you said was true, she has no case. And to prove it's true, we can subpoena witnesses. Your ex-husband, your surgeon, everyone who was at that party. We can also countersue for intentional infliction of emotional distress. From what you've told me, We have a strong case. She pulled out a legal pad. Well, need your journal entries, text messages, any documentation you have of your sister's behavior. Well, need Dr. Pierce's medical records showing the severity of your surgery. Well, need testimony from your father about what he knew regarding Jason's behavior at the wedding. And well, need to depose Brooke herself. Will it go to trial? I asked. Probably not, Patricia said. Most cases like this settle in mediation. But we need to be prepared for trial. We need to show her lawyer that we have overwhelming evidence, that if this goes in front of a judge, she'll lose, and she'll lose badly. I took a deep breath. Okay, let's do it. Patricia smiled. Good, because I don't like bullies, and your sister sounds like a textbook bully. Over the next 2 months, Patricia built our case. She interviewed Dr. Pierce, who provided detailed medical records and testimony about the assault. She tracked down Jason, my ex-husband, who admitted in a deposition that Brooke had told him I knew about the wedding incident when I didn't, that this lie had created a rift in our marriage he couldn't understand. That head pulled away emotionally because he thought I was judging him. She interviewed Trevor, who testified about Brooke's pattern of cruelty toward me, about the things she said in private, the way she mocked me to relatives, the way she'd stayed in contact with Jason after my divorce to feed him negative information about me. She subpoenaed text messages between Brooke and various family members, messages where Brooke called me pathetic, said I was milking my injury, joked about me being a burden on Dad. The evidence piled up, damning, undeniable. In early February, 6 months after Dad's birthday party, we went to mediation. The mediation took place in a conference room at the courthouse. Neutral territory. Patricia sat beside me. Across the table sat Brooke, her lawyer, and a court-appointed mediator named Judge Bernard, a retired family court judge with a reputation for fairness. Dad came to support me. He sat in the back of the room, quiet but present. Trevor came too, even though testifying against his estranged wife put him in an impossible position. Dr. Pierce provided written testimony and offered to appear via video call if needed. Jason appeared on a screen mounted to the wall, his face pixelated but recognizable. Brooke looked terrible. She'd lost weight. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail. She wore a simple black dress and no jewelry. Her lawyer, a middle-aged man named Mr. Garrison, looked tired. Judge Bernard opened the mediation by explaining the process. Both sides would present evidence. Then we'd negotiate a settlement. If we couldn't reach an agreement, the case would proceed to trial. Patricia presented our case first. She walked through everything methodically. The medical records showing the severity of my surgery, Dr. Pierce's testimony about the assault, the journal entries documenting years of emotional abuse, the text messages, Trevor's testimony, Jason's deposition. The evidence was overwhelming. Even Brooke's lawyer looked uncomfortable. When Patricia finished, Judge Bernard turned to Mr. Garrison. Does your client wish to present a defense? Mr. Garrison glanced at Brooke, then back at the judge. Your Honor, after reviewing the evidence presented by opposing counsel, I've advised my client that pursuing this lawsuit is not in her best interest. Brooke's face went white. What? No, we're not dropping this. Miss Walsh, Mr. Garrison said carefully. The evidence is clear. Your sister has documentation supporting her claims. If we proceed to trial, you will lose. And you'll be liable for her legal fees, in addition to potential damages from her countersuit. I don't care, Brooke said. Her voice was shrill. She humiliated me. She turned my family against me. She ruined my marriage. You did that yourself, Trevor said from the back of the room. Everyone turned. He stood up. I'm tired of watching you blame everyone else for your choices. Andra didn't ruin your marriage. Your cruelty did. Your inability to be happy for anyone else did. Your need to tear people down did. Trevor, shut up, Brooke snapped. No, Trevor said. I'm done shutting up. I'm done enabling you. I'm done pretending your behavior is normal or acceptable. Our daughters are in therapy because they watched their mother assault their aunt. They have nightmares. Madison asked me last week if Mommy still loves her. Harper won't sleep in her own bed anymore. You did that. Brooke was crying now. Ugly, desperate tears. I didn't mean to hurt them. But you did, Trevor said. Just like you hurt Andra. Just like you hurt your father. Just like you hurt everyone who's ever cared about you. Judge Bernard cleared his throat. Perhaps we should take a break. No, Brooke said suddenly. She looked at me. Really looked at me. I want to talk to Andra. Alone. Patricia shook her head. I don't advise that. Please, Brooke said. Just 5 minutes. I looked at Patricia. She didn't like it, but she nodded. 5 minutes. It'll be right outside. Everyone filed out except Brooke and me. We sat across from each other in the suddenly quiet conference room. Brooke wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. I'm jealous of you, she said finally. I've always been jealous of you. Why? I asked. You have everything. I have nothing, Brooke said. I have a beautiful house I hate living in. A career that makes me miserable. Kids who are terrified of disappointing me. A husband who can't stand to look at me anymore. I built this perfect life and it's killing me? So you tried to kill mine too, I said. Yes, Brooke whispered. You were happy teaching kids and making art. You were happy in your tiny apartment. You were happy being ordinary. And I couldn't stand it. I needed you to be as miserable as I was. Because if you could be happy with so little, what did that say about me? I had everything and I was drowning. So you pulled me under, I said. I'm sorry, Brooke said. The words sounded foreign in her mouth. I'm so sorry, Andra. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't deserve forgiveness. But I need you to know, I see what I did. I see how badly I hurt you. And I hate myself for it. I sat with her words. They felt genuine, but also insufficient. Sorry doesn't fix what you broke. I know, Brooke said. But I'm in therapy now. Real therapy. Twice a week. I'm working on understanding why I am the way I am. Why I need to tear people down to feel big. Why I can't celebrate anyone else's happiness. It's hard. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. But I'm trying. Why should I believe you? I asked. You shouldn't, Brooke said. I've given you no reason to trust me. But I'm not asking for your trust. I'm asking for the chance to be better. Not for you. For my daughters. Because they're watching me, learning from me, and I don't want them to be like I was. I don't want them to grow up hurting people. I looked at my sister. She looked broken, exhausted, human. If we settle this case, I have conditions. Anything. Brooke said, you drop the lawsuit, you pay my legal fees, and you commit to therapy for at least 1 year with proof of attendance. Not for me. For Madison and Harper. They deserve a mother who's whole. Brooke nodded. Okay. Yes. I'll do it. We called everyone back in. Patricia drafted the settlement agreement. Brooke would drop her lawsuit. She'd pay $15,000 to cover my legal fees and court costs. She'd commit to weekly therapy sessions for 12 months and provide quarterly proof of attendance to Trevor. We'd have no contact for at least 1 year. After that, contact would be conditional on Brooke demonstrating genuine change. Both sides signed. It was over. Outside the courthouse, Dad hugged me. I'm proud of you, he said. For what? I asked. For standing up for yourself, he said. For not backing down. For demanding better. I should have taught you that years ago. But you learned it anyway. 6 months after mediation, life looked different. I was promoted to head of the art department at my school. I was dating Ethan seriously. We were talking about moving in together. My paintings were showing at Caroline's Friends Gallery. I'd sold 3 pieces. The money wasn't much, but it felt like validation. Dad and I had dinner every Thursday. We were rebuilding slowly. He asked about my week, listened to my stories about students, didn't compare me to Brooke. It felt strange and wonderful. Trevor had full custody of Madison and Harper. Brooke saw them on weekends. According to Trevor, she was different with them now. More present, more patient, less demanding. She was actually following through with therapy. I got occasional updates, but we hadn't spoken. That was okay. I didn't need closure from Brooke. I'd found closure within myself. One evening in late summer, I sat on my apartment balcony watching the sun set over New Haven. Ethan was inside making dinner. I could hear him singing off-key to the radio. I thought about the past year, about hitting the floor at Dad's birthday party, about Dr. Pierce stepping forward, about choosing myself. For most of my life, I believed my worth was determined by how I measured up to someone else. I let other people's cruelty define me. I stayed small because it felt safer than claiming space. But pain has a way of clarifying things. When Brooke ripped that crutch from my hand, she didn't break me. She freed me, because in that moment, I finally saw the truth. I didn't need their approval. I needed my own. The people who love you don't keep scorecards. They don't demand you shrink so they can shine. Real love makes room, and if your family can't give you that, you build a new family from the people who see your worth. I'm walking now, not just physically, but in every way that matters. And am walking toward a life I chose, surrounded by people who celebrate me. That's not revenge, that's liberation. And it's the sweetest victory I've ever known. Sometimes the family you're born into teaches you what you don't want, and the family you build teaches you what's possible. I'm grateful for both, because without the pain, I wouldn't have found the strength. Without the darkness, I wouldn't appreciate the light. I'm 33 now. I have a job I love, a partner who sees me, a father who's trying, friends who choose me every day, and a sister who's learning to be better, even if we never speak again. That's enough. More than enough. It's everything. Have you ever had to choose yourself over family? Have you ever had to walk away from people you love because staying was hurting you? I'd love to hear your story in the comments below. Your experience matters. Your voice matters. And if you're struggling with similar family dynamics, please know you're not alone. There's a whole community of people who understand, who see you, who are cheering for you. If this story resonated with you, please hit the like button. It helps more people find these stories and know they're not alone. Subscribe to hear more stories about finding strength in difficult situations. And share this video with someone who might need to hear it. Sometimes we all need a reminder that choosing ourselves isn't selfish, it's necessary. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here. I hope wherever you are in your journey, you find the courage to stand up for yourself, to demand better, to walk toward the light. You deserve it. We all do. Take care of yourselves. And remember, healing isn't linear. It's messy and hard and worth it. Keep going. I'm rooting for you.